You know, every massive company you can think of, Apple, Amazon, even your favorite local coffee shop, they all started in the exact same place, with a single idea. So today, we're going to trace that journey, right from that first spark of inspiration all the way to becoming a huge, complex organization.
Okay, let's make this real. Take the story of Mohammed Kamber Hussein. When he was just 17 years old, he looked around his city, Karachi, and he noticed something. You either had these super exclusive, expensive restaurants, or you had cheap roadside spots that a lot of people felt weren't very clean or safe, especially for women. He saw that giant empty space right in the middle. And that little observation, that wasn't just an idea, it was the birth of a brand new business.
And really, that's what a business is at its heart. It's not just about making money. It's about seeing a need, a problem, a gap, and then pulling together the resources, the people, the materials, the location to fill it. Mohammed's restaurant is a perfect example of this. In a way, businesses are what save us all from having to grow our own food and build our own houses.
But, spotting a gap in the market, that's one thing. Actually stepping up and building something in that gap, that's a whole other ballgame. And it takes a very specific kind of person to do it, the entrepreneur.
Being an entrepreneur is a serious balancing act. Yeah, it starts with that innovative idea, for sure, but then you have to be willing to put your own money on the line, to invest your savings. You have to accept the responsibility of actually managing the whole thing, day in and day out. And this is the big one. You have to have the courage to accept that it might totally fail. It's a huge personal bet on that market gap you found.
So you've got the idea, and you've got the guts to see it through. Now you're facing your first really big questions. And these aren't about your product anymore. They're about the actual container you build for it. The first two decisions are absolutely critical. How are you going to structure this thing legally, and how are you going to manage the money?
And let me tell you, this choice has massive consequences down the road. If our guy Mohammed starts out as a sole trader, it's all him. He has total control, and his finances are his business. But what if he wants to expand like crazy one day? He might decide to become a public limited company, or PLC. That lets him raise huge amounts of cash through an IPO by selling shares to the public. But what's the catch? Oh, there's a catch. He'd probably lose total control, and his company's finances, they'd be an open book for everyone to see.
Now let's talk about the number one reason new businesses go under. It's simple. They run out of cash. A business can look profitable on paper, making more than it spends. But if customers pay late or all your money is tied up, you can still go bankrupt because you can't pay this week's bills. Cash is the absolute lifeblood that keeps the whole thing running day to day.
So how do you avoid that cash trap? Well, it's a constant juggling act. It means you have to be forecasting, always looking ahead at what money is coming in and what's going out. It means getting a good relationship with your bank before you're in trouble. And it means being really disciplined about making sure your customers actually pay you on time. It is an active, ongoing process every single day. Okay, so we've built the legal structure, we're managing the money. Now it's time to pop the hood and look at the engine room. How does a business actually take a bunch of raw materials and turn them into something that people are excited to pay for?
This simple three-step process is the beating heart of literally any business. A bakery takes inputs, flour, sugar, labor, and turns them into bread. A car company takes steel and machinery and turns it into a car. It's all about this transformation. And that middle step, adding value, that's where the magic really happens. It's the secret recipe, the unique design, the brand. It's whatever makes the final thing worth way more than just the sum of its parts.
So you've created this amazing product. Fantastic. But if nobody knows about it, does it even really exist? You have to connect that awesome thing you made with the right people. And that, my friends, is where marketing comes in. Every single business has to answer a really fundamental question. Who is this for? Do you go after the mass market, selling something like toothpaste or soda to absolutely everyone? The potential sales are huge, but you're fighting against giants. Or do you find your niche, a small, focused group of people with specific needs, where you can be their perfect solution? Less competition and usually much higher profit margins. It's that classic choice. Are you going to be a big fish in a small pond or a tiny fish in a massive ocean?
It's funny. Success doesn't solve all your problems. A lot of times, it just gives you a brand new set of them. And probably the biggest one is this: how do you get bigger without everything breaking? This is the challenge of scaling up. So what are economies of scale? Well, put simply, this is why it's often way cheaper for huge companies to make things. As they get bigger, they can buy their raw materials in massive bulk, so they get a huge discount.
They can spread their fixed costs, like rent for a factory, over way more products. It just drives the cost for each individual item down, down, down.
One of the fastest ways to grow is to actually join forces with another company, and this can happen in a few key ways. You can merge with a direct competitor to grab more market share. That's called horizontal integration. You could buy your supplier to control your costs, or buy the stores that sell your stuff to control your customers. That's vertical integration. Or you could do something wild and merge with a totally unrelated business just to diversify. That's a conglomerate. So the business has grown, it's scaled, it's successful, mission accomplished, right? Well, in the modern world, that's not really the end of the story. A new and maybe the most important question starts to pop up about what a business's ultimate role really is.
For a very, very long time, the answer to this question was as simple and loud: yes. But that view is really changing. And this question gets us to the very heart of how we see business's role in society today.
The answer really lies in figuring out who a business actually serves. For decades, the focus was only on the shareholders, the owners. But today, the picture is so much bigger than that. We talk about stakeholders, and that includes everyone: the employees who depend on it for a living, the customers who use its products, the suppliers, and even the local community that lives alongside it every single day.
And this all rolls up into a huge idea in modern business: corporate social responsibility, or CSR. It's basically the recognition that a company's decisions have real consequences that go way beyond its profit and loss statement. It's about consciously thinking about the impact on all those stakeholders, on society, on the environment, and not just laser focusing on the bottom line.
So, from a simple idea in Karachi to this complex web of global stakeholders, the business journey is always evolving. Which kind of leaves us with one final thing to chew on. In a world that now demands both profit and purpose, what do you think is the single most important quality a business needs to succeed? Is it still that innovative spark that got it all started? Is it the ability to adapt and scale? Or is it now a really clear and compelling sense of purpose? That's something to think about.